Welcome to the Vault XL. This is live number 3. Thank you so very much for joining me. Happy hump day to the viewing audience. Hope you all are well. Please check my community board for said polls, information, updates to breaking news and current stories that I am covering on this channel. Live number 3 is pertaining to a very disturbing story here in East Tennessee, not too far from the Queen, just a rock's throw from me. Down in Rockwood, Tennessee, this would be what we would call very country, rural area below the mountain, where a Caucasian female has murdered a 4-year-old Caucasian baby girl that she was temporarily taking custody, taking care of her, and she was in her custody temporarily. I'm going to bring you all this information. I'm going to bring you information from the parents who did not have custody of the child. Many of us are going to be curious to why they handed this baby girl over to this young lady. Where was the other child that they had brought into the world? I believe it's a boy child. Who has custody of him? And we're going to question all said information pertaining to this diabolical story. The version that this 25-year-old Breanna Runions gave to law officials is that she was teaching the child gun safety. Well, I don't believe that. Because how can you shoot someone in the chest, especially a baby, a toddler, and say, I was teaching her gun safety? Hello, Lolo. Thank you for joining me. TBI, Rockwood woman arrested for fatally shooting 4-year-old. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation agents have arrested a woman who they say shot and killed a 4-year-old girl in Rockwood, Tennessee. The TBI began investigating the death of Evangeline Gunter, which happened on Sunday. She died from gunshot at a home in the 100 block of Airport Road, according to the TBI. After investigating, the TBI said 25-year-old Breanna Gail Runions was responsible for the little girl's death. Authorities arrested Runions on Sunday and charged her with 1 count of first-degree felony murder. They also charged her with 1 count of aggravated child abuse. They placed her in the Roane County Jail on a $1.5 million bond. Sorry about that. Knoxville affiliate WVLT reported that Runions claimed to be teaching the child gun safety. Runions pressed the barrel of the gun to the girl's chest after taking the magazine out. Repeat. Pressed the barrel of the gun to the girl's chest after taking the magazine out, according to the warrants, then pulled the trigger, killing the girl, they stated. WDEF.com is the source. So how can you teach someone, a child, gun safety if you're pointing the gun at them? You couldn't be teaching them safety with the gun loaded or unloaded. And no one's going to believe you pulled the magazine out and then pulled the trigger. It still doesn't explain you having the gun in your possession, one, pointing it at a child, loaded or unloaded, and just happenstance it was you pull the magazine out allegedly and then pull the trigger. This is bullshit. Hello, Jerry Moore. Thank you for joining me. Let's bring you more commentary pertaining to Miss Runions. Very diabolical story. Once again, prayers to our friends in Maui, Hawaii, Florida. Miss Adalia has touched down in the state of Florida. It's a Category 3 storm. Prayers for those down in Florida and those who stayed behind during the storm. Elton John has taken a fall. Prayers for him. He's in the hospital. Let's get you this information now pertaining to this very disturbing case. WBIR.com is my second source. Hello, everybody in the chat, and thank you for joining me. And once again, if you'd like to donate to this great network, Cash App, $ Big Angie 129. Stickers and chats are welcome to this network. Let's see what the parents have to say, everybody. You're welcome to go to my community board for all said updates and information. And every information I bring you has a source. Just waiting for the content to load up. Okay, that's great news to hear. Yeah, I was speechless when I saw the information. I believe it was yesterday when I saw it. This incident took place on Sunday. It's now made national news. I just saw a picture of this information on Law and Crime Network. I don't know why this information won't play. This is strange. It takes forever.
Four-year-old shot and killed in Rockwood yesterday. 10 News reporter Lauren Davis spoke with the child's biological parents today.
Well, trying to get it out. It's taking forever for it to play. I don't know what's going on. It's slow rolling today, everybody.
Neighbors in Rockwood and all over Roane County had a shocking murder on Sunday when right up this hill.
It's buffering, as expected.
Four-year-old Evangeline Gunter was shot and killed. 25-year-old Breanna of Runions has been charged with murder and aggravated child abuse. According to the arrest warrants, Runions may have led investigators to believe she was demonstrating firearm safety to the 4-year-old. She reportedly pressed the barrel of the gun to the girl's chest after removing the gun magazine, and when she pulled the trigger, the gun fired, killing the girl.
My mother got a hold of me, telling me that the person that was taking care of my daughter was banging on her door telling me to get myself to the hospital.
Evangeline wasn't in her biological parents' custody at the time. She was at her custodial guardian's home when she was shot.
I wish I could have been a better mother for her to pay attention, but it was a court decision and everything that we had done this for, and this is what happens.
Evangeline's parents want everyone to be safe when they have firearms around kids, with the hopes that no other parents have to go through this.
Don't have your guns out. If you're supposed to be gun smart, don't have your guns out.
Especially near children, and treasure them.
September 5th would have been Evangeline's 5th birthday. That's why her family wants to hold a birthday party and vigil to celebrate her birthday and also honor her memory. In Roane County, I'm Lauren Davis.
Evangeline's parents say she also went by the name Evie. She was a sweet little girl, they say, who loved My Little Pony and gave the best hugs.
She loved My Little Pony. How about that? Well, sadly, Evie is no longer with us because the person who got temporary custody of her, I'm assuming was a friend of the parent, the female speaking here in this audio alongside her boyfriend, husband, whomever. And what I'd like to know is why did the state put your child in that girl's custody, in that female's custody? She was 25 years old. Maybe she wasn't in any shape, obviously, to be taking care of a child, any child. Let's chop up this information. Channel 10 News is the source. Authorities arrested a 25-year-old woman after she shot and killed a 4-year-old in Rockwood on Sunday. This is information brought to you by the Rockwood Police Department. Police charged Breanna Gail Duvall Runions with first-degree murder and aggravated child abuse, according to RPD. Arrest warrant from the Roane County Sheriff's Office said Runions told investigators she was trying to demonstrate gun safety when she pressed the gun to the 4-year-old's chest and pulled the trigger, shooting her at contact range at a home in the 100 block of Airport Road. However, Runions' girlfriend and a 7-year-old in the home somewhat disputed Runions' version of how things happened. Well, now, interesting. Runion is a female. Is everyone paying attention to this information? Runion is a 25-year-old female. There's also a 7-year-old in the house, and it's being disputed, her version of what she told the police. Well, now, in their accounts, the 2 children were being punished by Runions after they didn't wake the 2 adults up and for eating food that belonged to Runion's girlfriend. Now, remember, Runion is a white female. So she obviously was in a relationship with a woman and had access to 2 children in her home. And this debacle that took place of a dead child is stemming from children not waking up the adults and also eating the girlfriend's food of Miss Runyon. Well, now, interesting. Ryan struck both children with a sandal and placed them in separate corners of the adult's bedroom. The arrest warrant said Runions brought out the gun and removed the magazine while the 2 children were in the adult's bedroom. That's when she called the 4-year-old over to her and shot her in the chest. Officials said Runions' girlfriend was in the room during the shooting but turned away and didn't witness the trigger being pulled but heard the gunshot. The bullet also struck a glass bottle and sent shards at the other child. Let me intervene right here. Why would you be turning your head while she's pointing the gun at a child? Please explain that to me. Because what doesn't make sense is the obvious. If you cared about preservation of a child's life, you would have told her when she pulled the gun out, what are you doing? Number one. Why are you pulling that gun out? Number one. What are you getting ready to do with that gun? Number 2. 3, put that gun up. You know better. Is anybody out there in the chat following the queen? Why would you be pulling out a gun right after reprimanding children to go into a corner for allegedly eating your food, your girlfriend's food, whatever, and then pull a gun out? And then give the version, oh, after you shot the child, oh, I was giving gun safety. But we have a 7-year-old and a girlfriend saying, nah, that's not how it happened, Miss Runions. And the fact that she turned her head leads me to believe she saw what she did when she pulled the gun out, and you had to have known it was loaded, because why would you turn your head? Seems like to me you'd be trying to stop her. Hey, put that gun up, put that gun away. This is BS. So this bullet struck a glass bottle and sent shards at the child. Of course it would. After the 4-year-old was shot, Runions and her girlfriend immediately drove to seek medical help and were met by EMS in a Walmart parking lot. The 4-year-old was then taken to Rome Medical Center, where she was pronounced dead, according to officials. District Attorney Russell Johnson said he directed law enforcement officials to contact the Department of Children's Services about the 7-year-old in the home and to investigate the living situation. Well, now, imagine that. Johnson said officials are aware of previous DCS involvement with the children in the home. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because you know I'm about to get crunk. Why would DCS be involved when this child, I'm assuming, just got there? Or did she not just get there? So let me change that up for a second. How long was the little girl in the custody of Miss Runions and her girlfriend? Is the girlfriend new, old, borrowed? What are we saying here? I'm just saying. And don't get offended by what I'm saying, because you know I'm telling the damn truth. Let it set you free. How long did this lady have custody of this little girl? The 7-year-old, is that her child or somebody else's child? Or is this the biological brother of the little girl? And are we now talking about 2 children placed in her custody temporarily? Let's finish this information, because I smell a rat. I smell a rat. Because what I need to know is how long she had the children, and why would DCS be involved in a child who's allegedly temporarily living there? So how long is temporarily? I'd like to get information to that. And we know DCS don't like telling stories, but you might tell us something now since there's a dead kid. Okay. The biological mother of the 4-year-old, Josie Gunter, told 10 News that her daughter, Evangeline, lived at that house because of a court decision, but was only supposed to be there for 2 more months. So I'm going to ask the biological mother, because we can't talk to the fool that shot the baby. How long has your child been in her custody? That's what I'd like to know. Evangeline would have turned 5 years old on September 5th. Her family plans to hold a vigil and a birthday party to celebrate her life and honor her memory. I feel like it's my fault that I let her be there. I should have been more attentive. This is the same information you just heard at the top of the video, top of this article. I wish I could have been a better mother for her to pay attention, but it was a court decision in everything that we had done this for, and this is what happened, Gunter said. Her hugs were so full of life and love. That's the one thing I'm going to miss the most is her hugs and her smile, according to a release. Her father, Adam Gunter, wants people to know gun safety when they're around children. Don't have your guns out, Gunter said. You're supposed to be gun smart. Don't have the gun out. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is assisting Roane County officials in the investigation. Runions remains in custody at the Roane County Jail on a $1.5 million bond. At some point, to get it to grand jury, we have to have a preliminary hearing where the state's burden of proof is to put on evidence that a crime was committed and that the defendant committed that crime. It's a probable cause standard, said Johnson. The other thing that could happen, the defense attorney could decide to waive the hearing and have the case go directly to their own county grand jury. He said he expects the next grand jury hearing would be in February in a statement. He also said Runions had waived her right to a bond hearing. Well, now, maybe she wants to be in prison. How about that? I am utterly disgusted. This is why I don't like talking about children's stories, because one, they're all the same. There's always some abuse, some neglect, some DHS involvement. Somebody got a pass to keep the kids, get the kids back, and then we end up here. A news story, then a YouTube video. Number one, why was this baby girl in the custody of this 25-year-old bat? I'd like for the parents to tell us, what did you do wrong or not right, or what was going on in your life that you felt that this chick had to have your kid? Because the judge didn't just give this lady your baby. You had to have had something going on in your life for you to either place your child in foster care on your own, or the state was called in for an investigation and removed your child and asked you, did you have someone that could take care of your child until you could get your child back? Which is it? Because I don't see the state choosing her as a foster care parent, if you all see where I'm going with this. I got a funky feeling this is some of your heathen ass friendships, and now your baby dead. And now I got to ask the 7-year-old, is he also the biological brother of Evie? And where is he now? Is he in the state's custody, or was some other person, family member? What are we saying here? What happened to you all for your child to be in the custody of the state, or to have this lady take care of your child, whichsoever? That's what I'd like to know. What happened originally for this lady to get custody of your child? When did she get custody of your child? You stated in this article the child had 2 more months to live with this female. So I'd like to know what the hell is going on. And another thing I need to mention is to say DHS legal temporarily custody. Because some of us may be assuming DHS was involved in this exchange of parent to person. For all we know, she gave the little girl over to the lady and they had a verbal agreement. Hey, I need my kid to stay with you a couple of months. After a couple of months, I'm trying to get on my feet, blah, blah, blah. Then I'll come back and get my kid. Because I want to make sure I repeat everything thoroughly in this article. But this is what she did say. She lived at that house because of a court decision, but was only supposed to be there for 2 more months. Previous DCS involvement with the children in the home. So the district attorney, Mr. Johnson, says officials are aware of previous DCS involvement with the children in the home. A 4-year-old Josie Gunter, Josie Gunter is the mother, excuse me. Evangeline is the child. I'm trying to make sure I repeat all this properly. Evangeline, Evie, is the 4-year-old. There was also a 7-year-old boy there. I believe it was a 7-year-old boy. So what I like to know are the two, were they brother and sister? If not, whose 7-year-old child was that? And where is that child? Evie would have had a birthday coming up on the 5th of September. Parents are planning to have a vigil and a birthday to celebrate her memory. Well, last time I checked, funerals are expensive. Now, naturally, a casket for a 4-year-old won't cost as much as an adult-sized casket. I think y'all know where I'm getting ready to go with this commentary. How can you afford a funeral when you can't afford to take care of a 4-year-old? Is there anybody in the chat can help the queen out? Because I'm utterly confused. Birthday and a funeral celebrated the same day. How about that? I'm waiting. 20 viewing. Come on, you guys. Help the queen out. You can't afford to take care of your child, but you can afford a funeral. Yes, Cynthia, GoFundMe. Exactly. GoFundMe. Good old GoFundMe. Well, let me talk to you about that. Come on, Queen, they ain't ready for this. I'm probably the only YouTuber that does pay attention to information. The last time a little white girl got murdered, and this was in South Carolina by a black woman who adopted her and her brother. Please pay attention to what I'm about to say. Please pay attention to what I'm about to say. The family of the little girl and boy had a hard time getting the body of the little girl because they didn't have custody of the little girl. But in the end, the state gave them the rights to get the body from the hospital. So I'm going to ask that same question here. Sweetie, are you sure you're going to be able to get the body of the little girl to bury her? Because in the state of South Carolina, the state was bickering with the biological parents to not render her body to them because they didn't have custody and they had lost rights to her. Now, you may be favored in this case only because your rights hadn't been severed by the state of Tennessee. But I threw that in there because it could apply to this situation as well. Will the state release her body to this family? Because the parents didn't have custody of her. Stay woke now. Well, now, the plot thickens. And we need to know, because we are inquiring minds, why you didn't have custody of your little girl. What was going on in your life? Because where I'm disgusted, besides the death of the little girl and being shot point blank in the chest, you're standing here in front of the news with a whole man saying, you wish you were a better mother. And I guess you had some other stuff going on in your life. In the other article I read, you're trying to get yourself together, stable home, job, this and that. You didn't work in the same places where you lived. And, well, I don't either. I don't work near where I live. What's your point? Cynthia says the state will do it if she doesn't have custody. Well, yes, Cynthia, we know that the state will do it. The state always does everything so long as they're taking care of the child. But what I'm trying to figure out is why was a 25-year-old woman given custody in the first place? Why was the state involved with allegations from that household? What were the allegations with those children in that house? How long have those kids been in possession of Miss Runions before she shot this 4-year-old? And then some are going to wonder how the fuck she passed any type of, what do you call it, information to get custody. Because now people are going to start digging. Did she have a background? This and that. Did she work? What type of monies was she making? Was she making to take in the child's temporary custody? Which we know the state will give her monies every month for taking care of the child. Did she have a job? Was she in school? What was the girlfriend doing? How long was she in a relationship with her? Was she in a relationship with a woman when she got custody? Because naturally, people, this is still the South, feel funny about same-sex raising children, rearing children, having somebody else donate sperm, egg. You know, you all know where I'm going with this. Come on now. This is still the South. And down through there where that little girl was murdered is, I ain't trying to be funny, but it is Hickville redneck territory. It is deep Bible Belt. So I want to know, what's the other woman living in the house when that girl got approved to take care of this kid or kids? And if the other boy or girl child is the child's sibling, so now we're talking about 2 children in the custody of a 25-year-old who obviously didn't have the fortitude to be taking care of children, didn't need to be taking care of children. How was she approved to take care of these children? So this is the question we keep asking every time a child turns up dead in foster care or adopted or temporary custody with somebody. How do they end up dead? How do they end up abused? Why do we keep hearing that you've been to the house on allegations of abuse? Well, that means they went from one worse situation to the damn next. I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of kids going into foster care or being adopted by people and they end up dead. So they just left a grimy situation. So how do you leave one grimy situation to go to another? So now we're going to wonder, what's the place that she was in that bad versus where she's at to get killed? You kill a 4-year-old, you kill a 7-year-old. So it's the same to me. Was the child rambunctious? Anybody following me? Is this some Jacqueline Trezell repeats down in the holler of Tennessee? She became rambunctious. She and her brother were acting up, getting on my damn nerve. Go stand in the corner. Sick of you. Oh, that's okay. Come here. I'm going to show you something. Pull the magazine out and then put the gun to her chest and shoot her. But you know, Miss Runions, nobody's going to believe that version that you pull the magazine out. So what are we saying? There was one in the chamber. I don't know much about guns, and I'm not here to profess how it went down. I just know a little girl's dead, and 2 people are saying that you're lying. So that's good enough for me. How about that? That's good enough for me. I'm definitely not about to argue. Was there another gun in the chamber and blah, blah, blah. I don't know anything about it. I just heard her say she pulled the magazine out and then put the gun to the little girl's chest and toot, 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 shot her. And she's dead. How about that? And I want to know, why did she have custody of these children? What was the reason the children were removed from the parents? And why can't a man provide for his children? A man makes more money than a woman in most jobs. So why would you all be needing to get on your feet? For what? So you went and took your child and placed her with this fool, or the state placed your child or children with this fool, and she was no better than the shape that you all in. Because obviously she didn't have no business taking care of no fucking kids, because now she's just murdered one. Oh, and she waived the right to a bond. Thank you. Yeah, well, whatever. Whatever floats your boat. Let me dig a little deeper. I just thought about going on down there to Roane County, but I saw that winding road where the newscaster was giving the news, a black girl, and they sent a black girl down there to do the story. I thought, Lord have mercy. Now we know there are a few black people in Rockwood, but you know what I'm saying. She didn't carry her butt up that damn road. Because that road looks like a private drive, kind of like what you would have seen at the Wells house, except theirs was broke up with gravel and concrete. This one was paved a little bit, which that black girl knew not to go up that road asking no damn questions. Because you don't know who the hell's up there in a trailer or a shed, if you get my drift. You got to know your lane. And I'm definitely not going down there to be wreaking havoc with some, let me hush. The district attorney has spoken pertaining to this diabolical case. WBIR Channel 10 News is the source. Let's see if we can get this to play here. Thank you all so much for joining me. Live number 3. Busy day for the Queen, getting this information out to you. Taking his time. She had to know it was one in the chamber if it was her weapon. Okay, that's what I'm thinking. No, I'm not crazy. Right, it's your gun. So now you got to ask, was she a licensed carrier or had a permit? See, more questions. Hold on a minute, guys. It's taking its time. I hate these news
Attorney General
audios.
says the suspect, Breanna Runions, is charged under the state's felony murder statute, meaning she could face life in prison if sentenced and convicted. This morning, she waived her bond hearing. 10 News reporter Lauren Davis shares the latest in this case.
But she know she ain't got no money.
This is the Roane County Jail where 25-year-old Breanna Runions is being held on a $1.5 million bond. She is charged with first-degree murder and aggravated child abuse relating to the death of 4-year-old Evangeline Gunter. According to court documents, Runions told investigators she removed the magazine from a gun, pressed the gun to the 4-year-old's chest, and pulled the trigger. The toddler died. In a video release, District Attorney General Russell Johnson says the child's sibling witnessed the shooting. He says it's been tough for the whole community.
That child in our thoughts and prayers, as anybody else that's been affected by this case.
You're welcome, sweetie. Thank you.
Equally pray for them as well.
Josie Gunner, Evangeline's mother, says the child was not in her custody at the time of her death.
My best friend was helping me take care of my children while I can get a house underneath my feet, a car running, just so I can make it to and from work.
Attorney Sam English says there are many reasons a child is removed from their parents' custody. He adds where a child ends up after and for how long can vary too.
DCS has got to decide, do I place the child or children within foster care, or is there another option?
Exactly.
They always look to family first.
Right.
They want to find somebody in the
Right.
family who's willing to stand up and say, I'll take responsibility for these children and I'll care for these children.
The Tennessee Department of Children's Services confirms they are looking into the case and working with local law enforcement in the criminal investigation, but they are unable to give any further details. In Roane County, I'm Lauren Davis.
Evangeline's funeral is going to be at Kuiper Funeral Home in Harriman coming up on September 5th, which would have been her 5th birthday.
Well, they're having a public funeral. The Queen might show up for the funeral. You said 3 to 5 p.m. 5 p.m. it's open to the general public. Well, Mommy and Daddy, you know I got some stiff words for you now. Because, see, I have to always listen to everything that's being said. And quite a bit's been said, if anybody's paying attention. At the start of this story, Miss Ryan said she banged on your mother's door to get you to come to the hospital. So now I have to ask, how far does the mother live from Miss Runion's house up there on the road? Then I have to ask why your mother didn't take custody of your child or children. Come on with it, Queen. Ain't ready. I'll wait. whistling Dixie right now. Why did the grandmother not get custody of the children? Why are the children placed with this best friend? We hear mommy saying, I gave her to my best friend. She was hand motioning, quote unquote. Can't go back now, mommy. You gave your child to the wrong person. So I have all kinds of questions. Why was the child removed? What was going on in you and the daddy's life to where two of you couldn't take care of the child? Have you all been together ever since you had the child? Where were you living? Not living. Why would the judge give this heifer your kids? And as you hear in this commentary, the state would prefer to hand the children to family members. So that means they had to have asked you, do you have somebody that can step in and take your child temporarily or children? And this is the son of a bitch that you, excuse my language. This is the bitch you gave your kids to. Yeah, you know how I feel about them kids, man. Because there's no excuse. This bullshit. Because I'm wondering what we're going to find out about you and the man and the boyfriend, the daddy. What the hell y'all been doing? Because I ain't going to say how y'all looked in this video. I'm going to let everybody go look at it themselves. WBIR is the source, and they can draw their own conclusions about you and your boyfriend, baby daddy. What the hell you all been doing while rearing your kids? Okay. And now we have a dead kid. And this heifer saying she was teaching the child safety when we already know she shot the baby point blank because allegedly the 7-year-old and the girlfriend are giving a different version. You pulled that gun out deliberately and shot the fucking kid. That's it. Stop the bullshit now. Just stop it. You were angry. You were mad. You and the girlfriend. The girlfriend's mad about the food. You decide to discipline the children, stand them in the corner, and then you say, forget this. I'm going to go get the gun. I'm going to teach her a lesson. So what I want to know is why did you point the gun at the girl versus the boy child or the other child? You have to ask all those questions. Why this child? Why did you point the gun at this child specifically? Because there had to be a reason. Why her? A 4-year-old at that. Too hard to handle, too mouthy, wouldn't listen. Does she have some type of developmental issues, ADHD, autistic, or just wayward? But we already know that comes from ding, 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 genetics. Maybe she was hard to handle. She and the other child. And you and the girlfriend just got heated. See, it didn't have to go down this way. You didn't have to shoot that baby. But now you waived the right to a bond hearing. So you knew you couldn't afford a bond anyway. And once they said, hey, 1.5 million, there's not very much to talk about, is there? Quote unquote, my best friend was helping me take care of my children while I can get a house underneath my feet. Children. So that means the 7-year-old belongs to this couple as well, I assume, or the mother. A car running just so I can make it to and from work, said Gunter. I'm working 2 locations. So what are you saying? You have 2 jobs in 2 different places? Do you have a running car now, Miss Gunter, or no? Help me understand. Where do you live, Miss Gunter? Do you live up here in the Knoxville, Tennessee area, outside Anderson County, Roane County, Harriman, Rockwood? Where do you stay? Oliver Springs? Help the queen out. Just help me understand. Where do you currently live right now, Miss Gunter? Do you live with your boyfriend somewhere? Hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. Where do you live? Where do you work? Does he work? How about that? Oh, yeah. I'm going to come for the juggler because your baby's dead now. And we got to ask the main question, why did this heifer get custody of your child? So that goes back to you and the daddy. And then you have the nerve to tell us this, this was your best friend. Well, all that hair color and dye has gone to somebody's head to where it led to them shooting the baby. Thick, thick, thick glasses. Maybe she'll tell the jury she couldn't see well. She accidentally shot the baby, because I'm sure the version will change by the time she goes to court. The Tennessee Department of Children's Services confirmed the organization is looking into the case and working with local law enforcement in the criminal investigation, but could not release further details. Attorney Sam English says parents can lose custody of their children for many reasons. Physical violence against their children now, corporal punishment that's taken to an extreme, choking, burning of cigarettes, all sorts of things that we've seen throughout the years, said English. But physical violence is kind of common sense. You see that kind take place when you have children that go to play sports with coaches and things like that. People will pick up, if there's unusual bruising on arms, you'll see fingers or things of that nature. He says he gets involved when families disagree with the Tennessee Department of Children's Services recommendation for a child to be removed from a home. If they cooperate, then they can come up with a plan and it stays out of court, says English. You don't cooperate, they'll go file a petition. And the petition is called a dependency neglect petition. And that petition gives the state of Tennessee the right to come in and take custody of these children. And then you're entitled to hearing within 3 days. That's where my involvement comes in. He adds placements can be temporary or permanent, but usually DCS wants to return the child or children to their parents. Let me repeat that because some people don't believe that. DCS wants to return the child or children to the parents. And I think most of you should know that because they don't have anywhere to house the children. So they want these parents to get their acts together and retrieve their children. But sometimes that never happens because the parents prefer to be in the street and live a street person's lifestyle, and they don't give a damn about their children. That's the reason why the child was placed in the state's custody in the first place. It's calling a spade a spade. Once again, the placements can be temporary or permanent, but DCS wants to return the child or children to their parents. DCS has got to decide, do I place the child or children, in foster care, or is there another option? And they always look to family first. They want to find somebody in the family who's willing to step up and say, I'll take responsibility for these children, said English. Evangeline will have turned 5 years old on September 5th. In her honor, her parents are inviting the public to her funeral, which is on her birthday. It will be held at Kiker Funeral Home in Harriman. Friends and family are invited to attend from 3 to 5 p.m. and the general public is able to attend the funeral at 5 p.m. If you need verification for this information, WBIR.com is the source. Thank you all for joining me. Breanna Runions, 25, is being held on a $1.5 million bond in the shooting death of a 4-year-old girl in Rockwood, Tennessee. She had temporary custody of this said girl and another 7-year-old, and it is understood that these two children are biologically linked. The parents have spoken to the news to say they were trying to get on their feet. There needs to be gun provisions to put your guns up, says the father. She also admits that this was her best friend who had custody of her child. The child was only to stay 2 more months via this other article I brought to you. And now that's a wrap. So I'm going to say this for the last time before I check out of here. Why was your child in the custody of Miss Runions, Miss Gunter? Why did the state place your child with her? Because we now know the state was involved and this wasn't just a personal placement between you and the female. The female had a girlfriend and another 7-year-old, which is supposed to be your child's biological sibling. They are giving a difference of opinion of what took place in that house on Sunday. that you put the gun to the child's chest and shot the child. Your version, and you was teaching the child safety, gun safety, and pulled the, I can't even think of what I'm trying to say, the magazine out. Well, I don't know if the magazine was out or not, because that's your version. And you're also the person being charged with shooting a baby. So therefore, I don't have to believe anything that you said. And now that a 7-year-old and a grown-up has said that that's not the version, then one would lead me to, my better thinking is saying the magazine was still in the damn gun and you shot the baby deliberately. Now, of course, let's just say the magazine was in the removed from the gun. She can argue, I know I should have never pulled the gun out. I know I shouldn't have pointed it at her. But I promise I did not know there was one in the chamber. Is that what you're going to say as your defense? Are we also going to hear that you've had a hard life? You were stressed out. You've used drugs. You were trying to help a friend, but you became overwhelmed. You had your own personal problems, blah, 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 blah. Well, we all are going through something, are we not? Trust me, the Queen knows all about going through something. Hardships, needing money, needing a new car, needing a nice place to live, better place to live, living around crazy people, psychotic people, people who don't give a fuck about anything. Ratchet neighbors, ratchet friendships, courtships. I can go on and on. So in a year or two from now, when Roane County decides to put you up on the block and take it to trial, is that what I'm going to hear? How fucked up your life was, but you were still trying to help your friend out. The kids became too much to handle. They were in stuff all the time, eating up all the groceries. But we know the state was giving you money and also probably giving you a food stamp card to take care of the children. Checkmate. Oh, Medicaid too. Shut up, Queen. So really, you didn't have to spend anything out of pocket, because I haven't heard that you work anywhere, had a job. Haven't heard that the girlfriend had a job. So now we have to ask the ultimate questions. Are we talking about two females taking care of small children, unemployed, and just receiving funds from the state to take care of the two children? Then we have to ask, did you receive any government assistance for yourself, such as housing voucher or what? I'll wait. You see, it's going to continuously be a battle on top of this dirt between two-legged creatures. So long as you have a SOB that don't want to do right, a dirty bat that don't want to do right, they've got mental issues, developmentally slow, or just plain empty, you're going to always have problems. And you're always going to have problems involving children, because they're not going to have the sense to keep their legs closed and not procreate. They're going to have relationship issues, work issues, home issues, landlord issues, tenant issues, neighbor issues, because they're not stable. And possibly they retain it from birth, tainted throughout childhood, and then they become an adult and they are still tainted. And then they decide to procreate and or help people with their children. And then next thing you know, you hear a horrific story such as this: a 4-year-old girl being shot in the chest at point blank range and later dies. And then you have to listen at all these sob ass stories from the biological parents and then the person who took care of her. I'm stunned that the girlfriend told what happened. But see, I look at you as the same. Because you're sitting up here bitching and moaning about somebody ate something. Well, if you have certain foods you like in your house and you don't want somebody else eating it, I suggest you hide it or put it up somewhere where a 4-year-old and 7-year-old can't get to it. How about that? They're known to go in there and get too much milk, soda pop, drinks. Well, put them up. Put them up. Or don't buy them. Easy solution. Certain snacks you like, you don't want the children eating them, put them up. But you don't have to punish them for eating a snack cake or Doritos. You all see where I'm going, right? Because naturally, they live in the house and they feel like they're entitled to go eat the products that are there. It is a child. And an adult will do the same damn thing. You put out food, Doritos, snack cakes, soft drinks. They're going to eat it. They're going to drink it. You have to be the one to say, please do not eat that. Don't drink that. I would like to have that for myself. But we're talking about a 4-year-old, 7-year-old. And I think it's very disgusting that all this started because, one, the kids didn't wake you up. So what is it that you had to do so important that the children needed to wake you up? Since when do we rely on toddlers to wake up adults? So let me guess, somebody in the house had a job? And who might that have been? I'll wait. Because this was a Sunday. So there's no schools on Sunday in this general area that I know of. So the only thing that could be left for you to get upset about somebody waking you up is if you had a job to go to. So which one of you heathens worked and expected a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old to wake you up? Seems like to me you all are just angry, period. You're angry that the kids didn't wake you up. You're angry because they ate your food. Now we have a dead kid. This is fucked up. I keep saying this about people. Everybody is not child-oriented. Everybody's not cut out to be a parent, and that's okay because you don't know the job until you actually get in the job. Some people don't have help with raising their children. It is a hard job, especially when you don't have help, you don't have resources, and God forbid you have mental issues yourself. God forbid you are dependent on drugs, alcohol. Hell no, you don't need no kids. You can't be out here popping pills, getting high, drinking, chiefing, and think you have the right to child rear. No, you do not. And that's my opinion. Because one is going to override the other. Especially for those of you who think marijuana is no big deal. It is a big deal when you let things go and you don't take care of business and you're chiefing all fucking day. Hell yeah, it's a big deal. Many people say, experts have said marijuana is the gateway to other drugs. Now, I never thought about that because I would say to myself, well, marijuana's a downer. Why would somebody need another type of drug if they're already taking a downer? But it's the old adage, you can't get this, you need something else. And that's how many people get hooked on other types of drugs. We take one drug, dope man ain't got it, then we go ask him, does he have something else? Or we go find somebody else with something else, and I guess that's what they mean by being the gateway. When there ain't no weed, you will find something else to relax you. Take it how you will. Are these people users? The 2 girlfriends or the one that killed the child? Number 1. The children's biological parents, are they known drug users? Number 2. And why were the children in the custody of Miss Runions? How long have they been in her custody? And was the state working with the parents to get their children back into their custody? What was the status between the biological parents and the state of Tennessee? September 5th, Evie would have turned 5, and that is also the same day they're planning to have her funeral. And as I said at the beginning of this live stream, how can you afford a funeral when you can't afford to rent a place and buy a car? And as one of you said so kindly in the comment section, GoFundMe. Yeah, imagine that. So let's talk about that too before I check out of here. Let's say they have a GoFundMe set up. Who's going to be over the distribution of the monies? Because when people start donating, nobody has an idea of what the other person gave. So what starts out as $100, $3,000 can end up $30,000. So now imagine some people who have not been fit to take care of their child running around with your free damn money in their pocketbook and bank accounts. Stay woke. Is anybody paying attention? Imagine people who are unfit to raise their children getting your free money to pay for a funeral when we don't even know yet if the state is going to let them have the body to the child to bury. Maybe they already made the arrangements with the state. Yes, we'll release her body to you for burial. Since the shooting was Sunday, it is now Wednesday. And we here in the South like to bury the dead within 3 days of death if we can. Imagine, as I said, them having extra monies to play with outside of what's been donated for a funeral. Who's over any monies on behalf of this child, if any has been given? Who's over it? I'd like to know. Because it'll be a shame if we look up a couple of weeks from now and we start hearing shenanigans pertaining to GoFundMe money, donations. And then everybody starts crying and moaning about the type of people they've donated their money to. That's why you have to pay attention to the story. And like they say, you need to know who you're giving your money to. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm using deduction from what's already been said. The people didn't have custody of the damn children. So that means something was bad enough for the state to take their children. That's point blank, nothing to argue about. 2, do you want to give these same people your damn hard-earned money? That's my point. Because we know the dead has to be buried. It is what it is. But if you start a GoFundMe and the money starts getting up past the amount that it will cost for the funeral, then that means somebody has to take that money or send it back to the rightful owners. And that's the point of this story. If indeed monies get donated, who's going to get the money? The remainder portion of the money outside of funeral costs. And are these people you would want to give your monies to? That's all I'm saying. Because we have learned a lot of nefarious business has come from donating money and people doing all type of whack things with the monies, such as making up stuff that were not true. The one thing we do know about this story is true is that a little girl is deceased. So we don't have to worry about someone making up a story they need money for a sick child or this and that, when we do know that the child is deceased and she has to be buried. Now, as for this birthday party, I have nothing to say about that. Because some might argue, well, what are we celebrating? She's dead. How is this a celebration of life when she's died 1 week before her birthday by the hands of a monster that you gave permission to take care of your child? Now, naturally, the parents will say, we never thought she'd do this. We never thought she was nice. I thought she was cool. We were best friends since blah, blah, blah. I can't believe she hurt my child. But now we find out DCS has been involved with this woman and the children. So now I have to ask the ultimate question, as I've already asked, how long were the children in her custody? Because when did DCS get involved with things going wrong at that house with those kids? A 7 and a 4-year-old? When did this lady, Miss Runions, get temporary custody of the children. Number one. Number two, number one, why are they there? That's number one, really. Why were they in her custody? Number two, when did the lady get custody of them? Number three, what was the standing between the state and the mother and father as far as getting the kids back? Has she followed the protocol of getting the kids back? Such as getting a job, stable home, car. Is there anything about drugs in this storyline that perhaps the parents were using drugs and this is why they couldn't keep a place or a home? Or what else is in the story that we have not heard? Will we find that out, that these two were drug users or current users, and that's why their child was removed? We also have to ask if the two girlfriends were using narcotics in the house with the children. What were the allegations coming in to the state against these people and these children? How severe of abuse are we talking? Because this is the worst of abuse. Death is the worst. It's final. So what are the allegations against Miss Runions and her lover or any other parties that was in the house staying against the children? That's another thing. Were there other people living in the house? Were they taking care of any other people's children? See, the rabbit hole can go so deep, you can't even feel your way down. And when you look back up, the hole is smaller and smaller and smaller. You can't see your way out. And many people are going to be angry with this story for the obvious reasons. Two people brought children here and did not do right by them to keep custody of them. They handed the child over to somebody who also didn't need custody of them. When the children were in their custody, they were being abused. DCS knows about the abuse, and yet they didn't remove them from this friend who ended up killing the damn 4-year-old. Checkmate. And a lot of you speak very negatively about the state. But as I tell people, I don't judge everyone in the State Department because I can't. I can't judge one worker versus what a supervisor will sign off on versus what another worker would sign off on. Because everybody don't do the same work in a DHS office. Some people shuffle paper. Some people only handle food stamps. Some actually handle cases pertaining to the children. But I can't judge everyone the same. But in this case, I can say the state dropped the ball. And the sad part about these cases is that no one is ever held accountable from the state. And that cannot continue. You cannot continue to have workers and supervisors overseeing these cases and allowing the children to remain in a second house, third house, where there's abuse, and you don't do anything about removing the child from the custody of the person, be it a foster parent, adoptive parent, it doesn't matter. Temporary custody, it doesn't matter. Group home, it doesn't matter. The child was already in a dire situation for you to remove them from their biological parents. You get wind that they're now still being abused in the second place, third place, however number we're talking. Why in the hell are you allowing the children to stay there? And yet you all are never reprimanded, to our knowledge, after something heinous has happened, such as murder. And then we have to now worry about that same worker or workers or supervisors that handled this case. You are still now handling somebody else's damn case. And I don't think that's right. You don't have no business still working in the DHS office. That's my opinion. So it's a vicious circle and cycle. Allowing people to abuse their own children, number one. Allowing others to abuse the children when the children have been removed from the biological parent's custody. Too scared to send them back to the other parent, too scared to take them out this person's custody because you ain't got nowhere to send them. That's the reason why you say we don't want them, because we don't have anywhere to put them. But in the end, the child is the one who suffers. And then the next children suffer by the same decision makers. So something has to give. There has to be more done as far as workers and supervisors making decisions about children's safety, their safety, because that is your first priority, is the child. And if the child can't be in a safe environment, then what is your goal and what is the purpose of the agency? Because we're seeing more and more of children being murdered in foster homes, temporary homes, and adoptions. So they've gone from shitty to shittier. And they don't ask to be here. None of us asked to be here. And none of us asked for the parents that we were given, guardians. And it's understandable that you're trying to mesh different attitudes, ways of living, dispositions, thought processes, and sometimes they just don't mesh. Sometimes children don't work well with their biological parents. Sometimes they don't do well at a family member's house or a foster home. And then sometimes they do. And then sometimes the parents, foster care, temporary parents, adopted parents, they don't mesh with the children. And then there's favoritism. Treating one child differently, better than another child. Or not reprimanding the child as much as you reprimand the other child. And children see that and they notice that. And this is how children become insecure. And this is how children either become reclusive or they begin to act out. Everybody's not meant to be a parent. Everybody's not meant to be a guardian. And I think you as an adult, you know your temperament better than anyone. And if you can't adjust well to others, you don't do well with others, you don't do well in stressful situations, definitely child rearing is not where you need to be. You need to bypass that altogether. When I get an update to Miss Runions, and if there'll be a grand jury indictment, I will bring you that set of information. Once again, a 4-year-old girl child has died in Rockwood, Tennessee. Very small community. Sits outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. The child also had another sibling that was in the house. And that child and a girlfriend of the murderer has said the version that Ms. Runions gave is not the truth. The children were being reprimanded. And then she went and got a gun and allegedly pulled out a magazine and put the gun to the child's chest and pulled the trigger. But I do not believe that is the truth. I believe she was angry about whatever was going on in the house that day, minute it probably was, and decided to pull the gun out and shot the child deliberately. And she's currently being held in Roane County Jail, $1.5 million, as she should be. And I pray that she doesn't have any children or thought about having any children, because she doesn't need them. And the girlfriend doesn't need any children either. September 5th is the expected funeral date. 5 o'clock is open to the public if you would like to attend. I do not know if there's a GoFundMe or not. You're entitled to send or spend your money as you see fit. But just know, be very leery of donating money to people who, one, did not have custody of the said child, if indeed they are the ones that started the GoFundMe, if there is one. That's all I'm saying to you. Just be very careful about sending any funds, because right now I wouldn't give money to anybody that was a biological parent pertaining to the dead kid. I just would not do that, because I need to know why you didn't have your child in the first place. And I get it, a child needs to be buried. Preferably you take your money to the funeral home. That's what you do. You call the funeral home, you say, hey, do you have services set up for this child? They say yes. Then you say, I'd like to pay some money on it, or can you give me a balance of what is owed? And I'd like to pay a portion toward the funeral arrangements. That's how you do that. I want to thank you for your time. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Big Angie 129 to Cash App. All students in chat to welcome during the live stream. Thank you all for joining me, Cynthia, Lady Lolo. Thank you so much for tuning in to live number 3. Please check out my library to my other lives on Alicia Watt's boyfriend, Mr. Dunmore, who has been denied a bond in court on Monday. He has been denied a bond. So he will sit in jail until trial, hopefully. This lady has also been denied a bond, Miss Runions, here in Rockwood, Tennessee, for the death of a 4-year-old girl child by the name of Evie. And I also brought you commentary pertaining to Carrie Rawson, the daughter of BTK. I do believe she has been clout chasing off of her father's infamous notoriety, and I think it's in poor taste and it's disgusting. Please check out my community board for the poll pertaining to that said information and the live stream pertaining to who she is and how she came to be in this place of now wanting to speak publicly about her father, and also some new cases that law officials believe possibly Mr. Rader may be the suspect in some cold cases of murder, plural, and disappearances of women. And before I go, let me read out some of those polls results to give you an idea of what all of you all have been saying. Let's see. Make sure I read everything from that article. Thank you all so much for joining me. Please check out my extensive library in the YouTube queue. I have thousands of videos for you to enjoy, different subject matters. I also have movie suggestions. Sorry, I'm late with one for this week. I will post it after I get off this live. I think I'm going to suggest Beneath the Leaves. That was starring on the Roku channel. Mom and daughter, mom and father are in the leading role of that. I can't think of her name right now, but it'll come to me. And also Henry Dinkins decided not to testify at his own trial. The state and the defense has rested in that case. That will be my last live stream for the evening that I will bring to you pertaining to takeaways from the trial. Five hours ago, I posted this to my community board. Imagine if we find out that BTK had a cohort either during or after his crimes. Did he share his secrets with someone? Hint, photos of him simulating his victims. Stay woke. Also, released photos of BTK mimicking and disrespecting his victims were on a segment of News Nation. Who took those photos of him, or were they on a timed camera? 75% of you said timed camera flash. Someone else, 25%, 12 votes. Is BTK's daughter, Carrie Rawson, using her dad's infamous notoriety as a way to gain attention for herself? Is she mimicking some of Rader's qualities? And why now? 79% of you said yes, 21% of you said no, and this is out of 19 votes, excuse me. Oh, it was 12 votes on the last one about the camera flash and someone else being involved with Mr. Rader, BTK. As far as the daughter using his fame to ride on his coattail, that was 19 votes. 79% of you said yes, 21% of you said no. One of you commented, and this is from @MollyJones4165. I didn't see this comment, so somebody just posted this 2 hours ago. No, Carrie hates what her dad did and wants truth and justice for victims. She tries to help obtain truth and justice. None of this is her fault whatsoever. She just got stuck with this dude for a bio dad. Well, I'm not talking about her choosing her parents. That's not my point. My point is the conversations with News Nation sounds narcissistic as far as claiming to be we with the law enforcement now handling these new investigations. Then you go to her Facebook page. She's basically bragging about herself in cahoots with the law enforcement. My team, my team, my team. How is this your team? These are different agencies working a case of murdered people and disappearances of people. That's not your team. Because to me, you're doing what your father is doing, immersing yourself into cases when Rader is the one they need to be talking to. He holds the key to these other cases, if indeed he is the culprit. Not Carrie, not a mother, not a brother, nobody. The only person that can help is Mr. Rader. Now, if indeed somebody else committed the crimes, then that person could help. Or somebody that has knowledge of the murders, disappearances. But Carrie Rawson has no knowledge of these people because she was children when some of these people went missing and were murdered. So what could she possibly tell the police that she hasn't already said in a book, that she's already said in news interviews as of late? His temper, his this, his that. But what relevance is it about the disappearances and the murders? We need somebody to give information about those crimes. Next polls pertaining to Mr. Dunmore. James Dunmore called 911 a few times before Alicia Watts went missing from his home, and an unidentified woman has been introduced into the storyline. Who is she and how is she relevant? Someone said to me, Miss Terry Walsh, hey, Miss Angie, I saw on Steve's channel that his ex-wife showed up at his court hearing to support Miss Watts and family, and she was the one he abused, and that he did 5 years in prison for kidnapping another woman. So I thanked her for that. She said, welcome. And then someone else made a comment saying that, what did the lady say? Something about a few months ago, the 911 call went in. Well, see, that's why I tell people, I get my information from the news. I'm not here to argue anything that I bring to you because those are my sources I use. So if the news doesn't clarify when Mr. Dunmore made the 911 calls, how would I know when he made them? Because it was never specified in that audio I played when he made the call. It said before she went missing, he called 911. So when you leave it open-ended, it could have been 5 minutes before she went missing. It could have been 2 months before she went missing, 2 weeks before she went missing. How would I know? I'd already brought you commentary that he allegedly kidnapped someone. The article I brought made it seem as if he had kidnapped someone months before she went missing, Miss Watts. Then this person comments, oh, no, I don't know. All I'm going to say is, if you have a problem with the information I bring to you, you take it up with the news source. Because all I'm doing is repeating and playing what they're playing, what they have written, and what they put in audio. I don't go look up to see when the person went to prison, what their caseload was, any other allegations against them. I just go to the news source, bring you the said information. I don't know Mr. Dunmore. I don't know Ms. Watts. So I don't know when they met. I don't know who else is involved. They're now bringing another woman into the picture. They didn't specify what that was about. If it was an incident that took place the day she went missing or an incident before that, a week before, a month before, I don't know. As you hear Ms. Terry say in this commentary, he's been to prison allegedly years ago for a kidnapping. I thought I brought information that said he kidnapped somebody 3 months before. So see, this is what I'm saying. People hear different informations. That's why I like to read it in print. And it's not to say that when they write something in an article that they couldn't make a mistake. Of course they can. But I don't know when the 911 call was made. because it was not specified in the audio I played today. And they didn't mention about the kidnapping, how long ago it was. Just says he had a violent past. I believe kidnapping was mentioned. But I can't say when he actually went to prison, what he went for. I do remember last week kidnapping was mentioned. And the information I brought made it appear that it was a recent case, not from years ago. So I don't know. Back to the polls. When did he call 911, Mr. Dunmore? And who is this unidentified woman that they were speaking of in this news information? The next post I put up is, here is Carrie Rawson's Facebook post from one day ago. She appears very cocky about her involvement with local authorities. I think she is a narcissist and using her dad's infamous notoriety to gain attention for herself, which is sickening. I also cannot see how she can be of use in solving these cold cases. What knowledge does she have of the victims' crimes? None. Ask Dennis Rader, not Carrie. On her Facebook post, she says, there's a fourth case in Oklahoma now being looked at, not at liberty to discuss it beyond that. There is a fifth unsolved murder from Kansas. Then she puts under that, speculation by Osage team and myself. Then she lists all the people and where they went missing from. And after she mentions the last case, which is out of Oklahoma, she says, I'm only at liberty to discuss what's been entered into the public record by my LE team and comment on what's on record. Let me repeat that, since some say she's being helpful and useful. I'm only at liberty to discuss what's been entered into public record by my LE team, capital letters LE at that, and comment on what's on record. Brace, period. This is just the beginning, period. We will do this carefully, meticulously. This is a multi-agency endeavor. I'm a tiny cog in all of this. We will get answers for these families. And these are the words from Miss Rawson's Facebook page, not Angela. I'm only at liberty to discuss what's been entered into the public record by my LE team and comment on what's on record. These are her own words. Now, after listening to this from her own words, also going on her Facebook page to see the many entities she has reached out to, going on people's talk shows, blogs, so on and so forth, podcasts, however you want to word it, reaching out to the news because she heard BTK reach out to the news, questioning why he's worrying about this case and that case, coming out of the depths of the hole after 18 years of not speaking to her father. How in the world can you tell me, a 52-year-old woman, she's not clout chasing and riding on the coattails of an infamous serial killer? She could have stayed in the hole another 18 years and said nothing. If somebody had reached out to her, she could have given a comment via the phone and said whatever she wanted to say and then keep it moving. But she is seeking out people. It's on her Facebook page. Feel free to follow her if you like or read it for yourself. There are a few people she has reached out to on her own, not them seeking her out for commentary about BTK and these cold cases. So this sounds like to me clout chasing, somebody thirsty and starving for attention, identifying herself as law enforcement. We, my team. These are her words, not mine. And as they say in the street, what is understood needs no explanation. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day. I will be back with another live. It will be number 4, and it will be pertaining to Henry Dinkins and the trial of his life. He's been accused of killing a girl child at 10 years of age, Breanna. He's denied any involvement. His defense says there's no evidentiary material, just circumstantial. But I believe there's a lot that links him to the timeline of the child's disappearance. And you have to use deduction. If they couldn't find anyone else as a suspect, they don't have anyone else on camera leaving the vicinity with the child, picking the child up, going into that said apartment, then that just leaves the woman who was in the house, which is the girlfriend, a small child, boy child, which was her brother, and Henry Dinkins. You have a beautiful evening as well, Lolo. Thank you so much for tuning in. That'll be my last live for the evening pertaining to Henry Dinkins. The state and the defense has rested. He did not take a jury trial. He chose a bench trial where the judge only will decide his fate. Will the judge decide guilty for murder or innocence? Thank you for your time. You have been listening to The Vault XL.